Well, I'm thrilled. Natalie Cook, 5 times Olympian, gold medalist in Sydney, bronze medalist in Atlanta as well. You've been at the top of your game in beach volleyball for 20 years. And I don't think many accountants have ever met anyone who've been at the top of their game for 20 years consistently. And we've got you speaking at a conference coming up in March, which is going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about your topic being sustained motivation. I think everyone wants to know, how do you stay at the top of your game for 20 consecutive years?
Well, I picked that topic because that's the question that most people ask. They say, how do you stay motivated? And it's something I've really had to look at, because for me, it's come very naturally. The first thing is to take that first step. Now, it sounds very simple. In 1993, beach volleyball was announced as an Olympic sport. And I was asked to join the beach volleyball team, which of course is only 2 of you. And initially I said no. Initially I wanted to be a physiotherapist, and I stayed with my career because my family values were get your career, because beach volleyball back then was a social sport on the beach with a barbecue, and you win a water bottle and a hat. And Dad said, you've got to get your career. And I thought, okay, so I said no. And then 2 weeks later, I rolled out of bed and kicked myself so hard, because the Olympics was my dream. It was something that I wanted to fulfill as a passion and a future, but I never knew it was going to go 20 years. So when you take that first step, which we often procrastinate, I said no, I took a backward step. When we finally decide to take that first step, that's where it starts. And then after that, when you said 20 years, it feels heavy, it feels like a long time. But when I look back over my career, it's in 4-year cycles. So it's been 5 lots of 4 years. And you do the daily tasks that require you to be the best in your field every day, without procrastination, without hesitation. I know what I have to do. So I get up in the morning, and it's for an Olympic gold medal. So it's very cool. And I do that.
So you're just back from London Olympics, and just to qualify for that was a huge, because we've conversed many times about how the qualification process, massive just to qualify for that. And you did it. Now, you got knocked out, but so be it. You actually achieved the goal of 5, and the only female athlete in Australia to do 5 Olympics ever, or was it in a row?
Ever. Consecutively for the Summer Olympics, yes.
For the Summer Olympics, which is just awesome. So you look at that and you look at 20 years, how much of it was to do with visualization and knowing exactly what you wanted? And I think the answer is a lot, but what sort of things were you doing with the visualization to keep you motivated?
Well, getting clear on the goal is part of that visualization. If you're very clear and you can have the same visualization over and over and over, it's like etching a groove in a record. And the deeper it gets and the more passionate and the more it comes from your soul, the easier it is to keep going. So for me, once I knew it was the Olympic gold medal back in 1993, that was the goal. I would visualise being on the podium. I would visualise singing, past visualisation, I would sing it, the national anthem. I would brush my teeth in the mirror with a gold plastic medal on the mirror, and I'd line it up and brush my teeth so I could feel it. It's really a visceral thing. The feel, see, do, touch, the visualisation, the vision boards, the work you do behind the scenes on even your dream and being able to stay motivated for it is part of that process. So
in a business context, because now that you've retired from beach volleyball, you're very much turning that 20 years of experience into business context, which is, okay, how do you achieve whatever you want to achieve in business? And in a business context, most businesses are just operating the way they operate. If I've got this right, what you're saying is, let's paint a picture of what we want it to look like, first, and let's get that going, and then we can do the work back steps as to what we've got to do every single day to move towards that.
Absolutely, and paint it so brightly and texturally, like use texture, make it really real, use smells, use all of the senses. When you write every day, which we don't do as much because we use a computer, but when you write and you write in a black or blue pen, very boring. Write in pink and green and orange and start getting the creative stimulation going, and then use thick paints and really make sure that the space you work in is enjoyable and you love being in it, because that's what keeps the bounce in your step, it keeps me jumping and hitting the ball over the net, and that is really important.
So most businesses, particularly accounting firms, would work on a strategic plan. It would be some boring business plan that's in black and white, in paper. What you're saying is, no, let's bring that thing alive so we can see exactly what it looks like, and live that every single day.
Yeah, well, I've just walked into your office and it's everywhere. It's all around me. There's a theme, there's a true blue theme, there's colour, there's activity, there's fluffy kangaroos because it's true blue, and then there's blown up kangaroos, and your credos are all around the room. I can see them now, and that's what it makes it real. It's not a two-dimensional piece of paper in a drawer that you spend all this time, money and effort on a business plan and then put it in the drawer and kind of refer to it occasionally, but the further away you get from the business plan creation, the less and less you remember.
So at the conference, I'd imagine you're going to go through, how do we create this picture of what we want our personal lives and our business lives to look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah? And I would say the personal part is really important, because unless you're ready, unless your being is ready to tackle the mountain and to win the gold medal, it's not going to happen. So you've got to get yourself ready. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about is preparing yourself with the courage, the commitment, the perseverance, the dedication, and some little fun game-like tools we're going to be, having a go at to make sure that you can get it in your body. It won't be a lot of me talking at you. It'll be you experiencing things for yourself, so that when I leave, next time you're faced with something like that, very difficult to tell you what's going on because it's a little bit of a secret, but when you're faced with that, you don't need me, you'll have that experience that we've been through together to make it even more exciting for you.
So I'd imagine in 20 years, right, 5-time Olympian, gold medalist, just doing what you've done has just been extraordinary. I'd imagine there's been some pretty tough roads along the way. We've talked about the lack of funding from the government, where you had to raise a lot of money just to get to London, for example. Whether it be partnership split-ups, which you've had, playing partners, and no doubt many, many more stories that you've got that I haven't heard about yet. But my question is, how did you get through that to keep continuing? How did you keep going?
Well, again, it comes back to the focus on the goal. It's the end game that's in mind. And I know that at the end of the 4 years, there's an Olympic gold medal up for grabs, and I've got just as much chance as anyone else. So even though the Olympics for me is over, there's still, the next 20 years will be a new Olympic challenge. It'll be a new thing that I'm going to set my sights on, which you'll hear a little bit too about at the conference. But that, you just have to keep that in mind. And when that is colourful and vibrant and in your life every day, you don't just roll out of bed, you launch yourself out of bed excited every day. Now, some people think, burnout, look out for that. What if you're doing that all the time? It's too hard. You need to make sure that in that space you put recovery in. And we'll go through the whole life cycle of motivation, and in that is recovery and rest. I've just got back from 10 days in Fiji. So that was really important for me to fill my oxygen tanks and have reserves for when it's needed, because sometimes are tougher than others. And the relationship, there's two aside in beach volleyball, so the relationship problems, the funding problems, with the financial crisis that's still around, it was supposed to go away, we've got to get rid of that. I've had to raise a lot of money doing chook raffles and Lamington drives, and pie drives that never heard of.
Just to get an air ticket to go somewhere.
Just to get the air ticket, yeah. So, I've had to go back. Sometimes you've got to go back and get your hands dirty. Whereas if I'd have sat there and thought, I'm entitled as a gold medalist to this, I would never have ever got on the plane.
So you were talking earlier on off camera to me regarding these 7, as you've thought about the last 20 years now that you're retired, thought about the last 20 years and said, okay, what is it that I actually did? And you've synthesized that into 7, as you told me today, gates, on a slalom run. What are some of those 7 gates that you go through as you go down that slalom run to get to the finish line?
Yeah, well, I've made it a slalom run from the top to the bottom, because often people think of success as climbing a mountain, right? Now, to me, that's bloody hard. I look up at the top of Everest and I think, nah, not doing that, that's a long way. But if I put myself on top of Everest to start with and imagine being on the summit with the excitement and that feeling, so I stand on top and then look down at what needs to happen to get there, much easier. So we'll start on top of the slalom run. We'll have our skis on. We'll be looking where we want to go. We'll have that feeling of what we are or have achieved before we've even had it, and wait for reality to catch up. So some of those gates we will go through are about the purpose of why you are doing what you're doing, because purpose is really important. Getting the team around you, you call it the A-team, so you've got to get your A-team because you can't do it alone. And then we will go through the how to persevere. Now, I'm not going to tell you it all right now.
No, we just want the highlights.
Yeah, so the highlights. Yeah. How to persevere. You know, there's some tools. Commitment. We're going to teach commitment through an activity, not through talking about it. I'm sick of people talking about commitment. You have to commit physically, emotionally, so that it permeates your body and you have no choice but to take the steps required to achieve your gold medal.
Awesome. Well, that was a snippet. We've got a full morning with you, or the whole delegation's got a full morning, lots of exercises, and I know what's going on, so it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be a bit scary for some. At the end of it, we go through that morning, and no doubt people will be excited about their future, but what do you think would be the ideal outcome? Okay, we've gone through 3 hours with Nat Cook. We haven't, played beach volleyball because we're not playing beach volleyball, but we've done a lot of exercises. At the end of it, what do you think they're going to come out with?
Well, initially they'll come out with a new level of inspiration for their own aspiration. So that they'll have seen what they want very clearly. We'll get that very clear. They'll be inspired to do that, which is fine and often lasts a day, a week, a month, for some a little bit longer. But the tools we're going to go through in those 3 hours will help you be able to sustain that for your 20 years, to stay at the top of your game. At the end of it, I will have you coming out going, you know what, I can do this all by myself. I know what to do. I know how to do it. I know who I'm going to do it with. And I'm just going down the mountain.
Awesome. Nat Cook, look forward to seeing you in Queenstown, March 17 to 21. I believe we've got you on the 20th, on the Wednesday. It's going to be an awesome occasion. Look forward to seeing you there.
Can't wait. See you soon.